Hi everyone and welcome to NYN Design. My name is Kimberly. Starting off today with what we have in front of us. I'm your instructor. Starting off today with what we have in front of us. We have our canvas. It's an 11 by 14 size canvas. We have it long ways. Next, we have our fan. You guys are going to need some kind of a fan or some kind of a cardboard, or if you have an outlet nearby, a hair dryer to help your process go by a little bit faster. We are going to be painting this in layers. So it's going to be important that we can keep the back layer dry before we move on to the front layer that's going to be on top of it. Next, we have our towel to our right, our water bucket underneath, and our brushes. Our brushes are going to be our large background brush, our medium square brush, our round tip brush that comes to a point, and our detail brush. These are going to be the brushes we're going to be using for today's class. Again, so the colors we're going to be using today are going to be as follows. We're going to start with our lighter colors, our white, our yellow, our red. Then we're going to have our green, our purple, our blue, and our black and our brown. So those are the colors that we're going to be using today. Okay, so just as a reminder, our paint is very sticky. So you got to go in there, and when you use your brush, it's kind of like a sponge that sucks up all that water. You need to make sure that you squeeze it really good into your paint, and that you use the little hairs on your brush to make sure that it's very well mixed, okay? We want our paint to be nice and creamy, and you're going to paint off on the sides of the paint every time you're using some. You never want to use the paint in the middle, just in case you might want to use that pure color later. Try to leave a section that's always clean. So only dig into it a little bit at a time. If you see that your paint is way too watery and see-through, then go back and add more paint. It's got way too much water in it. We don't want this paint to be transparent. We want it to be nice and creamy. If you use your paint and it's very sticky, then you need to add a little bit more water, okay? You don't want to use sticky paint. One, you're going to waste a lot of paint. Two, you're going to get a very sticky painting, and you don't want a sticky painting. You want a very soft painting. You want everything to be blended. You don't want everything to look kind of weird, okay? So we're going to start with that. Okay, so starting off, we are going to be picking up our large background brush. You're picking up some of that water. We're going to dab it lightly. And we are going to come in to our blue, adding a little bit of water to it. Remember, making sure that we mix it very well into our blue. I'm digging into the corner like I'm telling you, like I told you earlier. Okay. We're digging into the corner of our blue, making sure it's nice and soft. And we're going to add a tiny little drop of black into that. We're going to be painting with sort of like a gray blue. So I added a drop of black. Next, I'm going to add just a little drop of white. Why did you add black if you were going to add white? Okay, because we want our color to look gray. So what do? You add gray to your blue. How do you make gray? Mixing black and white. So we're just doing all that mixture in the center of our color instead. So you're coming in with this blue, and we are going to make a line halfway across our canvas. We're going to make a line completely across. It's such a beautiful blue too. And we're going to start to brush this blue towards the middle of our canvas. So let's start to brush this along the middle, coming back with a little bit of that black into our blue again and some of that white, trying to make a gray blue. Okay, and we're going to start to just brush it. Use your brush flat ways, then try using it thin ways too. Look at the different lines you get. You get thin lines when you pull it out thin ways on its side, and then you get big thick waves when you use it on the thicker side. Okay, so we're gonna keep rubbing this across the center with our brush. We're just pushing paint around. If it's too sticky, then add a little bit more water on the side of your palette and then come back. It's supposed to be nice and smooth. It's not supposed to be very sticky. Next, we're coming in with a little bit of purple. Just drop a little bit of water into your purple. You don't have to worry about washing off your brush. If you still have some blue in there, that's fine. And we're just going to scratch a little bit of that purple into that blue section as well. Just a little bit. We don't want to add too much. You want to make it look slightly like you can barely see that there's purple in there. Okay, so when you press very lightly, you start to get a very smooth look. When you press very hard, you get a lot of lines in your picture because you press and all the paint comes out of the side of your brush and it starts to affect how smooth your painting looks. So if you want it to look very messy, go ahead and push hard. If you want it to look nice and smooth, add a little bit more lighter pressure and decrease your pressure. So add a little bit more finesse to it. Try to be a little lighter, a little bit more, more softer with it. Okay, next, I'm gonna grab just a little bit of this white, dip it in my purple, kind of like a lavender. So same brush again, I'm playing with the same colors. And in the middle towards the top here, I'm gonna scratch a little bit of this light lavender. Okay, I'm adding a little bit more purple in the middle there. Going very lightly over the ends. Coming back with a little bit more of that purple and white. Continuing to add it. And I'm keeping it towards the right of my canvas. Okay, so once we start to move on to this section, we're gonna come in with a little bit more black into our blue. Okay, so we're gonna mix in a little bit more of that black into our plain blue, and we're gonna go for more of a dark navy blue. To this blue, we don't wanna add any white. You could add a little bit of purple if you want to, but we wanna keep it mostly a deep blue, okay? So it's blue with a little bit of black. I'm making sure to add some water so that it could last me a good amount of time. Cool, man, and it's actually letting me know that I need more black in there, that it's not dark enough. Coming in with a little bit more of that purple. Perfect, now it's nice and smooth and creamy. Okay, so with this, I'm actually going to line the bottom with it. I'm lining the bottom again, and I'm gonna start from the right and the left to pull it in towards the center of our painting. So it turns out that this is actually the center that's a little bit brighter, but we are gonna go from the edges and we're gonna add some shadow into that. See, and we're actually gonna start to pull it towards the top as well. We're starting off with this dark blue. And you're just gonna see me kind of create an aura in between there with this dark blue. I'm gonna go over it. As it starts to dry, I'm gonna go back and add a little bit more just so it looks a little darker. And you're gonna see that I'm gonna start to kind of work my way in a little bit into this section. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys some time to just paint in the sky and we'll be right back. Remember to leave a highlighted section right in the middle as well. So what we're gonna be doing next is we're gonna be grabbing our round tip brush. We're picking up a little bit of white and we're adding it to this purple and blue mixture. So a little bit of that white, a little bit with our purple and blue. And we are gonna come in and begin to add little clouds going up towards the top and the right section. All right, so here we go. We're on our lightest section. We're coming in with our brush. Make sure you only pick up a little bit of paint. You don't want to push it very hard. You're going to go very lightly over it. Make sure you do have a little bit of extra water in this so that it looks sort of see-through. And we're just wiggling a line towards the right. Okay, and we're just starting to work it down. I'm kind of curving the bottom. It doesn't have to be straight. Okay. I'm going to scratch a little bit of this light blue across it. I mean, it's like a light lavender almost. We want it to look like there's some clouds. If you want to go on top and just wiggle them, you can. Make it look like it's nice and cloudy there. Same thing here. Come back, add a little bit of that cloud. It starts thick and then we make it nice and thin. We pull the line. The bottom doesn't have to be completed. Just make sure in some sections it does. We can have it just kind of fade into the dark blue. If we make some of the white into that dark blue and get some of it on our brushes, come back and add some more around. Mix it, some of that into the white that maybe you added in front. And that'll start to give you a really nice blue fade in there. So you just have it disappear. Same thing here. Maybe add a little bit more of that blue as it fades. See? And we're going to continue to make some scratches. We're going to leave a little bit of a space right here towards our right side. We're not going to want to paint anything there yet. Okay, we're going to wait a little bit. Leave a little bit of space right there. So we're going to continue to grab that very light purple. Let's come down. Let's create some more of these clouds. Again, I'm not pressing very hard. It's not a lot of paint. I hardly even have any paint on my brush. If you see that, you could see through the little hair. I'm just scraping whatever hair there is there left, whatever paint there is left on the hair there, and I'm scratching it little by little. I can even come back with a little bit more water, make it a little bit more see-through. See, I didn't even have to pick up more paint. See, and we're just working on leaving these clouds around. If you want to add a little bit of pink or white to your red to your white, you can totally go ahead and do that also. And that'll start to give you another slight color tone on top of your clouds. And that looks really pretty as well. Again, we're not wanting to go really thick. We want to add a good amount of water, make it a little bit light, see-through. You don't want to add too much paint. I recommend that you use maybe a lavender. So it's the purple with white. Maybe you can add a little bit of pink to it. See, I'm going back in, just scraping in some clouds on the sides. I don't want to go into my white so much. You can go in there with a little bit of your blue and your white and start adding maybe some cloud if you want to into your dark side. You're not going to see a lot of these clouds, but if it helps, gets you into a little bit more of like a mood, if it gets you a little bit more inspired, then go for it. See, and look at that. We're starting to get all sorts of really pretty clouds here. Okay, so next we are going to come in with our round tip. I am washing it off, picking up a little bit of my white, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of my yellow. White and yellow both on my brush. And right in the middle here, I'm going to come in and just make a circle. We're making our moon here. So we're starting to shape it. We don't want it to be too big. Be careful with how much water you have in your brush also, because you might end up having a little bit of trouble. Your moon might end up going everywhere instead of staying in place. Your water's going to spread and you're just going to end up making a really big moon. Okay, for more detail, you can use your background brush. So I'm coming in with my, not my background, I'm sorry, with your detail brush. So I'm coming in with my detail brush now, and I'm going to come in and try to straighten this out a little bit. Again, I need to watch how much water I have in my brush, because it ends up actually making more of a mess. You want your brush to be a little bit on the drier side right now that we're doing this outlining. And there we go. We have our moon right there. If you want to come in at any point with any of that light pink or light blue cloud, you can add maybe a little bit more highlight to those sections of the clouds. Make it look like the moon is shining a little bit brighter against that. You can go in with, again, that light color we were using, our light pink. Right above this cloud that's below it, the sun is shining right on there, the moon is shining right on there. I'm trying to leave a little bit of a highlight. Here are some sections of our clouds that are getting a bit of a highlight on there. All right, so now that we have this detail brush, we can also go and with our white, pick up this paint, come into our background, and we are gonna start doing some stars. We're gonna start just placing some of these stars around our sky by our moon. And we're gonna be working on that all around our sky right now. That's what our sky should look like right now. Next, we are going to be coming in with our background brush, and we're going to be doing the same effect that we did up here, except we're going to be doing it towards the bottom. Okay, so we're going to start off first with our dark blue. We're picking up our square brush, adding some black to that, starting with our darkest blue that we had in the background there. Okay, and we are going to come in and we are going to paint all of this section with that blue. We're going to come down about maybe right here. We're still going to leave maybe 4 fingers in the bottom of space, and we're going to curve that upwards like that. See that? So we're basically going to be painting this, and you're going to be painting this corner over here. So we're kind of leaving like a little crescent right in the middle. See that? Everything else is going to be painted that dark blue on the sides. The only part we're leaving plain is going to be right here, and then some colors in the middle there. I'm going to show you right now. So we're coming in with that dark blue. We're pulling that in, staying towards the bottom here. Come back with a little bit more of that dark blue. Maybe we're going to add a little bit of purple there. Next, we're going to come in and we're just going to pick up some black. Down here, we're going to have some of that black just covering the corners. And we're just going to pull it in to the sides a little bit. We're going to paint up again, cover the whole thing in that black. Okay, we are coming into this space a little bit too towards the left. So once we've managed to work with this dark blue, we're bringing it in towards the middle. We're going to start to add a different variety of blue in the center. Now we're going to start playing with our different colors. We're going to come in with some of this plain blue without any black in it. And we're going to start to mix it in towards the middle. We want to get it a little bit lighter. We are now going to have to start playing with the colors, our lighter colors, to start making it look as if we have ripples in our water here. So first, again, we're starting with some of this blue. Okay, and we're going to start painting from side to side, little by little. Try to not press too hard. And we're going to start coming in with our round tip brush after we manage to paint that in with the blue. We're coming in with our background brush, and the color we're going to be using is going to be a little bit of white dipped with our blue. So we're going to start using just a slightly lighter blue from the dark one that we've been using. And we're going to start to create some ripples here. So I'm just coming in and I'm doing some lines with that very light blue. And we're just going to be waving some lines across the center, right here in the middle. We're trying not to go too much towards the sides, trying to keep it right in the middle. Again, we're starting off with this lighter blue. Okay, it's not too light. We're still keeping it a little bit dark. We're going to be adding some more color in there in a little bit as well. A little bit lighter blues. They're going to start to make it look as if it's standing up a little bit more. Okay, you still want to show some of that darker blue in between the crevices that we're painting. You still want to have some of that color shining through. We're going to add a little bit more white to our blue, come in even lighter. Make sure that you do have enough water in there. And we're just going to slide a little bit. Start creating that look of reflection. Focusing a little bit more towards the outsides with this lighter blue. I'm not really sticking to the middle yet. You can also go in there with some of your pure blue and add it in certain sections to make it look as if we have some lighter reflections of that color with the moon there. So I'm using my light blue and my pure blue now. Coming in with my light blue. Again, I'm not going too into the corners there. I'm still leaving it sort of like a shadowy look. Okay, and I'm going to keep playing with this light blue. Then I'm going to go back, like I mentioned before, and we're going to be using some of this darker blue in certain padded sections and gaps that I see there. Coming in with a little bit of that plain blue, trying to make it look as if it's really standing out against the water there. I'm coming back in with even more white, just trying to add even more of a highlight. And I'm trying to keep it a little bit more central now. I'm not going to keep it so spread out as much. Okay, so then we're going to come in. I'm coming in with my detail brush. And I'm going to do my final highlights with this little brush that I have here. Okay, so again, I'm coming in and with this detail brush, I'm beginning to add all my final highlights. I'm keeping most of the white area towards the right. All right, so I went in there, added a little bit more black and blue to the edges, and I'm brushing that in towards the water a little bit now. Now that I have that, I'm going back in there to try to make it all look like it's all part of one painting instead of us doing one step and then the other. We want to make it look like it's all combined. So we're coming in here with some of this dark blue, pulling it in from the sides, coming in here with some light blue, pushing it into the sides as well, trying to make it look like it's all part of one piece again. Awesome. So once we're done with this, we're going to go ahead and make sure that this is all blow dried. If you need to add another coat of black to the edges, if they're a little too light, come back and fill those in with a little bit more black. We want to make sure that those edges are nice and dark at the bottom. Right here as well. Want to make sure that it's nice and dark, at least in the corners. We are going to be painting some green into this, so it is going to be a little bit lighter. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys about 2 more minutes. We're going to finish this up and then we're going to go in and blow dry it so we can move on to our following step. All right, guys, so moving on, we are going to start off first with our round tip brush. We're picking up a little bit of water and we're going to be using green with a little bit of black. We're going to start off with the darker green. Again, make sure that you add enough water to that so that it lasts you a good amount of time. And you don't have to go back and refill it every 5 seconds. So again, a little bit more of that black. Okay, and there we go. We got a nice dark green. And we're going to start off at the top corner here. We're going to start to dab it with that dark green all along the top here. Okay, we're going to bring it a little bit down. We're not at that horizon line yet. Okay, and then it just kind of fades, right? Like you can't really tell if it keeps going or not. From here, we start to bring it in. And we start to come in with a little bit more of our lighter green. And we're starting to make it just a little bit lighter. Okay, you can leave some gaps. You don't have to cover up all of your, you don't have to cover up all your stars. You can leave some showing through. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of that lighter green over here at the end. Coming back over the top. Same thing, we're gonna have a little bit of that darker green at the end over here. We're gonna come in. We do wanna still show some of that background. You don't have to cover up all the stars again. If you're feeling a little bit bad about that, it's okay. We call it killing our darlings. We kind of paint over what we like or what we did already, just so that we can increase the painting and bring it out a little bit more. So here we're gonna kind of go around our moon a little bit, and we're gonna start to kind of hang these little cones, these little sections off the top down. Come back with a little bit more of that lime green or that bright green, make it stand out right on top. Back with a little bit more of that plain green. And here we're starting to make it a little bit thicker as we get closer to the bottom here. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're coming in with some of that plain dark green. Just trying to play with it. We're filling it out a little bit more, making it a little bit thicker. This tree is a little bit thicker than the one on the right. Again, then we're coming in with a little bit more of that green. We're making these little cones coming down. They're kind of like triangles that are just hanging down from the top. Okay, we're gonna come back up here with a little bit more of that green, making it stand out a little bit more. It got mixed in with the black quite a bit. So we're gonna make it stand out with some of that lighter green. Cool, we're gonna make a little bit more of those triangles. Okay, and meanwhile we're waiting for this to dry, we just blow dried it a little bit. Hopefully you guys are caught up with the top. While we're waiting for that to dry, we are gonna work on our bottom section. So our bottom section, we are gonna be using our square brush. And we're gonna start off using some dark green and some light green, just like we did up top. Okay, we're gonna be painting side to side here, using some of that dark green, coming back in here, using some of that lighter green. We're just trying to create some grass down here. Okay, so again, come back in there with your water, a little bit of your black, and we're gonna start painting into our block a little bit to start creating a layer going into that section. Okay, you could go in there with your plain green. Okay, and we're gonna be working on adding some green towards the bottom here. Meanwhile, we wait for the top to dry. So once I started going in with my lime green, or my plain green, I started going in with a little bit more yellow. And I started using the yellow to create, again, a little bit more diversity in color, making it look like there's more colors in there than just the colors that we're seeing, making it look like there's different varieties of green and we can only notice one. So yeah, a little bit of eye tricks there. So we used a little bit of our yellow. Then I went in and I started using a little bit of white mixed into that yellow to kind of scratch it and create even more of a highlight along the top there. Next, I didn't have a lot of paint in my brush. I let it open up and I have all these little hairs separate. And then from the bottom, I go in with my light color. Let's say I'm using white first, right? I'm pushing it in. I'm starting and I'm flicking it up and I'm starting to get this look of some grass around. I'm not pressing very high or very hard. I'm letting the little hairs on my brush leave this design on there just by letting it pull over the top. Okay, then I'm coming in from the bottom and I'm kind of flattening it out. We're not working on that grass yet, but it helps to have already that texture laid out and made. So again, we're picking up a little bit of that yellow now and a little bit of that white, adding some of those highlights into our grass, making it look a little bit more alive, like there's more movement going on in there. Okay, so from here we are going to come out. I want to take up a little bit more space on this section. I'm going to take up a little bit more space. I'm coming in with a little bit of my dark green again. I'm going to start working it out. I want to take up a little bit more space on the right. I'm going to have my trunk of my tree here. So I do want to make this a little bit bigger. So let me work on that. Just added a little bit of that dark green, that plain green, and now I'm coming in with a little bit of the yellow. Same thing here. Let me see. Nope, this isn't enough space, I think. I don't think I need more space on that side. Okay, coming in with a little bit more of that white. Coming in more with that green. All right, so from here, we're gonna go ahead and dry this as well. And we're gonna come back in with our round tip brush to work on our trunk. So let's go ahead and blow dry this and we'll be moving on. Okay, so moving on, we are now picking up our round tip brush. We are picking up a little bit of purple and we're mixing it to the corner of our white. So we're trying to go for a light purple. Okay, so we're going for a very light lavender color. You can add a little bit of blue in there too, just to make it a little darker. So we're going for that lavender, making sure that we have enough water in our paint. Cool. And we're starting off first on our left tree. So we're gonna start from the top. Let's kind of, or you know what, let's start from the bottom. We're gonna make a little base. Okay, we're making a little line. From here, we're gonna work it down. Make another little line. And then this is gonna be the trunk going up. Okay, so this is the bottom of our trunk underneath. See this? These are the bottom of the roots that are going towards the bottom of the tree. From the top here, we're gonna have it a little funny. We're gonna bring it straight up. We're gonna come back down with that paint. Make sure that it's nice and thickly laid on there. Okay, and it just kind of scratches into the background there. From here, we're gonna have another section come out and it's gonna get lost towards the right. Again, we wanna make sure that this trunk sort of comes out of the side, it merges. And right here in the middle, we have to join it so that it looks like an actual branch. And it doesn't look like a random line just coming out of the trunk in the center. Okay, so from here, we're coming back and we're adding a line towards the bottom, maybe a little bit smaller. There we go. Right in the center, we're gonna come back with a little bit more purple and blue, nice and dark. And we're just gonna start to scratch it in. We're adding a little bit of that dark purple and blue on this corner. Working on adding in those shadows into our tree before it dries. Coming back in with a little bit more purple and blue. From right here in the middle, we're also going to have one line that comes out. See that? We're starting to create this shadow effect. Okay, so we're starting to add these shadows there with this darker color. Then we're going to come in with our bright white, and we're just going to add a highlight right along the bottom of the tree, and even scratch some on towards the top there. Okay, so we're just scratching a little bit of that highlight. Okay, so we have one tree there. Next, we're going to do our tree that's towards our right. Coming in with that same gray blue, or that gray lavender. Coming in from the corner, going straight up. This one goes more towards the left, and then a part of it goes towards the right. Again, remember to pick up a little bit more of that water. Sort of around our moon. And let's make it look as if it's connected to the tree also. We don't want to make it look like it's just a random branch coming out. So here we're going to start playing with our dark colors again. I'm coming in with my dark purple and my blue, just as we did before, and I'm starting to just scrape it up towards the bottom, from the bottom up towards the top. Coming in with a little bit more of that blue. I'm working on it, creating a little bit more of a shadow here. Coming back with more blue and purple, starting to add more of a shadow to the side. Coming back with a little bit more of that purple and blue. You can come in with a little bit more of that light purple and sort of just extend the roots out a little bit so it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, I'm coming back with a little bit more of that white, scratching it on as well. Cool. All right, so from here, we're gonna let this dry. Meanwhile, we're letting this dry. We're moving on towards the bottom of our grass. And we're gonna start to use our detail brush for this. So the colors we're using are gonna be three. Are gonna be our black with green, black with green with yellow, and green with white. So that's gonna be the color of our grass. It's gonna be green with black. Another color is gonna be green with yellow, and another color is gonna be green with white. So I'm gonna start off first with a little bit of my green with black. Again, make sure that you have enough water in your paint. And we're just gonna come in and begin to just do some grass laid out around. And I'm gonna be bringing it closer to the front as well, closer to us. I'm not going to have a lot. Again, I'm going to be a little bit sparing with how I do this. You're just going to see me add some of these dark green leaves around before I start to work on my lighter colors. So right here, we're going to be using that lime green. We're starting to play with that. Then when we grab our lime green with some white, which is green, yellow, and white, we're going to start to decide certain clusters. So right here on the side, we're going to make certain clusters with just white. That's going to be where we're going to be placing our yellow flowers at. So over here, I'm going to add some white as well. Okay, the only place that isn't going to have a lot of flowers, but it is going to have some white, is going to be right in the middle here. We are going to be having some flowers around these corners and around the corners on the left. Okay, so again, we're going in with some purple, with some white and lime green. All right, so moving on from here, we're going to be grabbing that lighter green. It's going to be green again, just plain green. And we're going to start to add some of that green over part of our trunk here. We're going to start to cover it, make it look as if it was in the back the whole time. Come in, add a little bit more of a highlight to this section of the tree so you can tell that there was some color down there still. Going back in there with a little bit more of that dark green. Coming in here, adding a little bit more of that dark green, making it look like it's towards the back. I'm adding a little bit of dark green towards this section as well. A little bit on the side of this tree. Okay. Next, I'm coming in with that light green again, and we're starting to add it over the top now of our tree itself. Okay, so same thing here. Coming in with some of that green, And this green is going to have some hills. And we're going to start to make those peaks down here too, as if they're coming out of the sides of the tree there. Like they're just falling over. Okay, we're going to go over the color that we painted before. Come back, add a little bit more of that plain green. Okay, now we're going to make it look as if we have some on our tree here. Same thing down here, more green. The next color we're going to be using is going to be that lime green, just like we did with our grass in the bottom. So this lime green is really going to start to make our leaves pop out a little bit. Look at that. Starting to really make these pop. So we're going to go in there. We're going to try to add some of this lime green into some of these that are hanging on the sides. Don't try to add too much. It's only going to be a slight highlight. So we're not necessarily adding it on everything. We're adding a little bit. We're adding some more on the over this section as well. And if you want to add one final highlight color, again, that is up to you. You could use a little bit of your white. And your white does give it a whole other level of highlight. You don't need to add that much of it. Okay, so from here, when you guys are done with this, we are gonna allow that also some time to dry. Okay, while we do that, we are gonna work on our flowers towards the bottom. Okay, so we're picking up our round tip, picking up a little bit of yellow with some red, mixing that together, making a light orange. Okay, and we're gonna pick up a yellow and orange color. Next, we're just gonna go and create these little dabs on the sides of our tree. We're gonna do the same thing a little bit closer, a little bit of that orange and some more of that yellow right here in the corner. We're gonna make sort of like a little star flower. So we're gonna go and make a stereotypical flower where it has all the 5 edges like a star. Okay, you can even come in with a little bit of white. And add some white in there. Okay, so we're coming in. Again, doing another couple of flowers. And we're gonna go around just adding some of these flowers all around the bottom of our painting. So here I added a little bit of some green leaves just by adding some green dabs around just like I added the yellow ones. And I'm coming in with my detail brush just to add a couple of dots around, making it look like we have a couple of different colored flowers in there and they're not just all white. I also added a little bit more red to some. See, and look at how pretty that is looking right there. It's looking really nice. So all these little details that you can add on there that don't necessarily have to be on there, but if you get inspired, get creative to go ahead and do that, you can always go in and add some of those details on there. Even something as simple as just some white dots can really make a change on your painting. Okay, so while we're waiting for the bottom to dry now, the top should be a little bit drier. We're gonna go in and we're gonna start working on our purple flowers. Okay, so again, for this, we're gonna be using our round tip brush. If you have an older one, go ahead and use an older one. I'm using one that's already old. Look at how it's all busted up a little bit. And I'm gonna be working on those purple flowers. If you don't have purple, you can make purple using red and blue. If you have purple, you can go ahead and just pour that and use that. If you want to make it more red, add more red to it. If you want to make it more blue, add more blue to it, okay? So we're gonna go in. I'm starting off on my flowers. There we go. And we're gonna start off first with a light color. So we're picking up some of our white and mixing it into our purple. Coming back, I'm gonna add just a little bit more red to that. Okay, so I'm gonna come back, add a little bit more white. There we go. So we have sort of like a light lavender color right there. See that? Very light. Okay, so we're gonna start off with this color first. And we're gonna start to design our little flowers. So we're coming in from the top and we're just gonna lay these around. They're gonna be big. See that? That's basically the design that we're doing. And we're gonna do several of them. We're gonna have some kind of hidden in the corner. We're gonna have some more towards the front. Everything that's towards the side though is gonna be just a little bit darker. So you might wanna go in there with a little bit of a darker purple, just because it is hidden more towards the side. Okay, so we have one flower there. Let's come back. Let's do another one up here. Okay, same thing down here. And I'm going to start to make them smaller. The ones on the top are a little bit bigger. The ones that are closer to the bottom, they get smaller and smaller as we paint them. All right, so next I'm coming in with a little bit of that red and purple, and I'm beginning to just add that darker color into my flowers. I'm choosing the sides. I'm layering these so that they look like little tiny flowers inside, just dabbing these colors. And I'm doing my red with purple. On the darker sides, you can do red with purple and some blue so that your purple looks a little bit bigger, a little bit darker, I'm sorry. I'm working on my bigger sides over here. Next, we're going to come in with just a little bit of that purple and some white. Okay, but the white separately. And we're going to come in and add some highlights to some of these sections. Kind of the ones that are facing more of the moon. Okay, so we want to put them more towards the right, maybe if you're on the left. You want to make the highlights more towards the left if you're on the right. Okay, so we're coming in with a little bit more of that highlight. Okay, and we're continuing these highlights all the way up. See how that's really starting to bring out our painting a little bit more? Again, if you're closer to the right, make your highlights towards the left. If you're on the left, make your highlights towards the right. And when you are done, this is what your painting should look like. Look at how beautiful that is, guys. Again, it is going to look more like your style, so that is totally fine. We're not copy machines, so your style is probably better than mine, if not equally as cool. Okay, you guys need to be proud of your own work. So we're coming in with our detail brush, grabbing in our highlight. In my case is going to be some white, and we're coming into our right hand side, and we're just going to come in and put our signature, because after this, you guys are done.